for potential signees come April. The staff's out working very hard on finishing this class, on getting ahead for the next class. The other part of this whole thing, and I think the confidence that Ross has is the same confidence that I have, that we have the staff to get it done. I remember sitting in President Ransdale's house with Wood Selig and talking about exactly who I wanted to hire to come in here that was good in relation to WKU and our basketball program going forward. And two of the guys are in the room right now with Ray Harper and Lawrence Brenneman. I'm appreciative of their efforts, that they came in both feet in right off the bat. We were able to secure Alan Edwards on our staff last year. Obviously, a high level of practical playing experience and coaching experience, and he's really helped our players over the last year. Andrew Theokas, our Director of Basketball Operations, is on with us for 1 year. Obviously a big compliment to our staff. We have a young and up-and-coming strength coach in Ryan Johnson, who I think is terrific, who does a great job, and our player development coach in Kip Wellman, another bright star in the business. I'm missing anybody over there? And Jim Richards. Sorry, he's a special assistant because he comes to practice about 3 times a week. The support staff as well. Mike Gaddy has been with me since I was an assistant here. He was with us, and he makes a big difference in our staff and does a great job. And that's another reason why the confidence level is so high that we can get this done, that we know we're doing. And this is, obviously I support the decision to move forward. I know that there are challenging times ahead. I understand and appreciate the support that Ross and the university is giving myself as along with the staff. I want everybody to know that I'm committed to running the program in a first-class manner. And from this point forward, like Ross said, hitting that reset button. We're gonna approach this job like we just got named today to the coaching job at WKU, and we're going to get after it and get back to the basics and fundamentals with our current roster, with recruiting, with how we run the program, and make sure that we're doing everything in our power to make sure that we're back on the level that we need to be at. I also want to thank the staff for their patience throughout this process. This hasn't been easy. You know, there has been some uncertainty, and I understand that's the profession, but we have some wives out there and some family members that I know it's been hard on. I know it's not the easiest thing to go through, but I do appreciate the patience, the effort, and the professionalism that you guys have handled this situation with. So I'd like to answer any questions at this point and open it up.
You as well?
I'm available too.
You said the new salary, is it an extension of contract? Is it new? I'm not sure what the old one was.
It's a revised contract, but
Going
it's
through when?
a 4-year contract. So just do the math, 11, 12, 12, 13, 13, 14, 14, 15. So it's a 4-year contract with a reset of the salary at $250,000.
Russ, I wonder what, obviously, there's a lot of newcomers in next year's class. I mean, what I guess is the evaluation standard for next year in terms of, I mean, it's going to be a relatively inexperienced group of players.
Right. We talk about, you know, there's a lot of indicators, James, you know, that we can evaluate the program on. You know, President Ransdale, when I got hired, talked about, you know, RPI, GPA, attendance. So we can measure those numbers for sure. To me, what I want to see is that we're improving, that we're doing the little things that make a big difference, that we are developing players, and to pin, you know, the number of wins on a program is totally unfair. Anyone who's done that sets themselves up for failure. We need to improve in those indicators, and we need to improve in how we run the program day in and day out. And so that's what I'm going to be looking for moving ahead, starting today.
Coach, you mentioned in Hot Springs at the end about having to win fans back with your discussions with Ross. What would be something, or how do you guys go about that? Because it was something that you both admitted that attendance was down. It wasn't where you wanted it to be. People weren't happy. How do you go about getting the building full again?
Well, I've always thought that the fans want to see a product on the floor that they're proud of. You know, they're spending hard-earned money and time, valuable time, to come out and support the team. They want to see something that they're proud of. And one thing that gets lost in the whole process is the fact that when we're not putting a product on the floor that is at the level of WKU basketball, the present, past, you know, the players before them, it's really hard on us too. It's hard because we don't want that. It's not so much a reflection of us, but we have to try to mentor these kids to understand the expectations and then come out and execute. I think if we start to do that, and obviously that starts in recruiting. It starts in recruiting. What kind of kids are you recruiting? High character, they understand and value their education. Are they coming out on the floor and giving it their all? Just like Ross said, there are indicators as to how we're going to be running the program. There are indicators with the program and how they play. It all carries over. And I think that's an important part that with the recruiting model has to stay consistent.
Coach, I wonder, when did you maybe come to a realization that there were some things you thought needed to change, and if there was a specific point or a specific thing that happened that it kind of, I guess, brought that to your attention?
Well, I think from day one to start the season, once again, it gets back to we all, as coaches, evaluate exactly what we're doing. And I can look back to last year and how we finished the year. Yeah, we finished pretty strong, but there were some things on the court I wasn't happy with the consistency. And we started from day one with boot camp and tried to really instill some things that were important to our program, and we want that to carry over onto the court. Now that always doesn't happen, but the evaluation process for us starts right off the bat. Now, as you're getting to know Ross and obviously having a new athletic director, he has a different model. He's a very comes from good programs. He runs things a little bit different than maybe Wood did. So you have to adjust. But as the season has unfolded, this particular season, with some of the distractions and some of the disappointments, you're trying to do the best you can and survive each day. And then look back to, okay, what can we adjust so we're not having to go through some of these things again? And then that's where we get back as a staff and make sure that we're covering all our bases and going forward. It could be recruiting, it could be organization, program management, it could be how we run practice, it could be how, you know, our expectations in the it can be a lot of things, but you know, we're always looking.
Do you feel like there needs to be, I guess, maybe a refocus on your part or on the staff's part, or is that something that, I guess, has kind of been ongoing and today is kind of a continuation?
You know, today is a new day from the standpoint that we are hitting the reset button in a sense. I think a lot of focus went into, once we were 5'11", I think our staff really buckled down. I think our players really buckled down. I would want to see us be consistent year-round with that same focus. I guess that's the best way I can put it.
But you guys have both mentioned organization in Ross's statement you just did now. What about that? Maybe you mentioned might need to change. How do you mean, I guess? Explain all that.
I just think expectations. Expectations of me, expectations of the staff, expectations of the players. You know, when something is not at the level you want it, you have to pick it up. And I'm looking at myself first, making sure our staff is in line with me. I make sure I set a tone and make sure the players follow it. I mean, that's our job. We're going to be young, so we're going to have to instill some discipline and try to help these guys mature as soon as they get in. We're going to have to be demanding of the players that are returning. And what is going on right now, especially in this season, and I really point to this season, is it all kind of coming to a point. What is going on is not acceptable. So it's our job as the head coach, as a staff, to make sure that we're getting back on track.
Ross, there's obviously a lot of indicators, so I know that you looked at, but how big of a factor did the incoming recruiting class kind of play in your decision, I guess?
fortunately, I've gotten to know all those guys, some well, better than others. But you know what? It's an indicator. It's a factor for sure when you retain a staff because you want the best program possible. And I just felt that 3 years was too short of a circuit to break that. And the recruiting class coming in, by all indications, is a very, very high-level recruiting class. They are energized. They've formed a unique bond that I think will help our team. If you follow Derek Gordon on Twitter, that guy is Mr. Positive. George Fanton is the same way. All those guys have a great positive attitude, and so it was a key factor. But again, it's overall continuity of the program. Overall, 3 years is not a big enough window to judge a full body of work.
Coach Ross mentioned getting back to more four-year guys, which is what you have coming forward. But I wonder with and he also mentioned the roster turnover. It's been a lot in 3 years. It's a lot of places have it, but it's been a lot. What do you guys do going forward to make sure that number of turnover is going to happen, but dwindles significantly?
Well, I think one thing that helps is when you know kids, the more you know them. The more of a relationship that you have, the more you know what you're getting. And that's one thing I pointed to as I spoke earlier. You know, a lot of these kids that are coming in, we've known 3 years. You know, Derek Gordon, Coach Brenneman has known his family for 6. And when you know kids and you know what's coming in, you have a much better feel what the challenges for that particular prospect are going to be. At times, we have not made the right decisions in recruiting. That's stuff that is either hit or miss. Sometimes you can't predict what's going to happen, but I think that's the biggest part. I think that you can go down the list of kids that have left. You got a different reason for each kid. We got to make sure that we're mentoring these kids so they understand the value that they have for this program. And a lot of times, sometimes it's important to help them understand you got to pay your dues a little bit. I mean, in society in general, it's what have you done for me lately right now, and kids don't want to pay dues. That's part of it. But I think if it gets back to a strong relationship between me, between the staff, and these prospects, I think you're going to help retain guys a little bit more. And that's something we could do better.
And we're not saying there's a restriction on transfers. We're not saying that. But as Ken said, getting to know the recruits is the important part of the process.
Ross, speaking about the recruits, can the university make contact with the incoming recruits to tell them about this? Is that something?
Yes, we can. Once they're signed, we can communicate with them on the phone, email. I sent Derek Gordon a Twitter message, direct message this morning, and I said, "Are you ready?" And he said, "I'm ready to be the leader of this team." So that's the kind of attitude that we have coming in. He calls himself Mr. Hilltopper, by the way. So.
Ross, academics have been a key point in several of the discussions so far. What is that new academic plan that you were alluding to? How is that going to change from what it is currently to what it's going
It
to be?
really takes effect for all incoming student athletes to WKU. Some are high achievers and some aren't. And so we have to make sure that they're receiving the proper attention. So we have study hall hours, we have certain mandates that we will impose on our student athletes as they come into the program as new. And then if they don't reach certain thresholds throughout their academic tenure, then they get back in that academic retention program. And so Jashar Justice and Dixie Muhurin and our staff really worked hard to put together a plan that we've been working on for some time, and now we're moving forward for 2011-12.
Ross, with the evaluation, so can you talk how difficult it was, and then also did you evaluate with each member of the staff as well as not just Coach McDonald?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you go through this, you know, it's never a pleasant experience, you know, but you have to look at all angles. You have to look at every single section of the program, every corner, every nook and cranny, and so I think I did a lot of research, talked to a lot of different people, and I did sit down with each one of the assistant coaches, Alan and Ray face-to-face, and Lawrence on the phone because he was out recruiting last week. But they see me around a lot. I go to the locker room after games. I'm in the media briefings. They see me around a lot, and so I had interaction with them on a frequent basis. And, you know, it is tough. It's a tough process to go through. I hated the fact that we were kind of sort of left in limbo for a few days because you never want your program to be in that position. You never want people to be in that position. But we had to take a hard look, and primarily because of those three reasons that I mentioned earlier. So I did talk to the staff, and I did talk to a lot of people associated with the program.
Coach, what's been the toughest thing for you? I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff that's been hard, like Ross was saying, but what's been the toughest thing in this evaluation process?
Probably just, you know, Ross has a job to do, and, you know, we only have a one-year relationship. I think lost in a bad season or a tough season is the fact of how much you care about a program and how much you want the program to reflect you. And when that's not happening, that hurts. You know, that's the bottom line. It really hurts. You know, if you would have said, you know, what's the identity of the program after year one, I think you would have had a pretty positive view of how hard we played, of how we overachieved, of, you know, the true passion we played with. That wasn't always there this year, and it wasn't there enough. So once again, that's kind of what Ross has to go on, and I understand that. But that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part. I mean, this isn't a one-year snapshot. This is a career, and when you have a career that you're proud of, you don't want one year to reflect everything. But that's part of the business too.